Welcome to the online tutorial for using the Smarter School Spending Cost Projection Tool. This video is intended to serve as a brief guide to demonstrate several ways in which you may use the cost projection tool. This tool was made to help districts think through the major cost components of their instructional priorities and reach an estimate of what those final costs might be. Priorities. The cost projection tool is not intended to represent all potential models for implementation. Remember, please use the cost projection tools as a set of resources to begin thinking about the cost drivers of your instructional priorities. But be careful to not interpret the final output as exact estimates. We recommend engaging with this tool after you have already begun thinking about the key components of your initiative. During this video tutorial, we will walk through the Common Core Cost Projection tool. This tool is intended to provide some examples of costs associated with implementing either the Common Core state standards or another set of new standards within your district. Although we will focus on the specific costs within the Common Core tool, the general structure and layout that you will see in this tutorial is similar, if not identical, to that within the other cost projection tools. Therefore, you will be able to use the information that you learn within this video tutorial to structure your engagement with other cost projection tools as well. The Common Core Cost Projection tool is comprised of four major cost areas. 1. Instructional materials and assessments. 2. Professional development. 3. Technology. And 4. Student supports. A complete approach to implementing Common Core state standards will include costs in all four of these areas. However, your district may already have some aspects of your plan in place. In that case, please only fill out the relevant tabs for your district. In this tutorial, we will briefly walk through each of the tabs within the tool in order to provide some overall guidance. Your costs. You may wish to review some external resources with valuable background cost information. You can find such documents on the Resources tab within the tool. We will begin our tutorial on the Instructional Materials and Assessments tab. Our first step to estimating the costs of instructional materials and assessments for our district is to fill out the table that helps you create a plan at the beginning of the tool. As a brief note, the color coding within the tool is as follows. Light yellow cells ask for you to input information. Light gray cells ask you to select from a drop-down menu, and light blue cells represent calculations, therefore you should not edit these cells. The tables at the beginning of this tool allow you to craft the plan to purchase or procure new materials and assessments within various subjects and grades in your district. In keeping in accordance with the Common Core state standards, you can develop a unique plan for both math and ELA. Once you have thoughtfully crafted a plan for procuring new materials and assessments, you should click the button to the right to move to the next section of the tool. After creating your plan, you will see various questions appear that correspond to the plan that you've created. Your next step is to move through the tool, answering the questions as they pertain to your district. Your answers will cause various cost tables to appear. You will notice within these cost tables that only certain cells are highlighted for inputs. These rows correspond to the plan that you created at the beginning of the tool. You may ignore the shaded out rows. For each aspect of your plan, you are asked to describe a product, input an average cost per student, and then determine the cost structure. You may either choose to purchase all materials within the same year, or you may choose to purchase materials over multiple years in order to break out the costs. As a navigation tip for the tool, you may use the plus and minus arrows on the left-hand side of the spreadsheet in order to ease your navigation and collapse rows. After you have inputted unique cost information for each product that you plan to purchase, you must also input an average annual replacement rate in order to account for wear and tear on materials that you may buy. You will go through a similar process for determining the cost of all the various aspects of your plan.
Once you have estimated the cost for all the type of materials that you wish to either buy or purchase, whether it be supplemental materials, core materials, intervention materials, or developing your own assessment development, as well as buying interim assessments, you must account for any existing spending that your district will no longer invest in due to your new program. For example, your district may choose to discontinue the annual purchase of vocabulary books for seventh graders because instead you will buy Common Core specific content. You should account for this in the existing spending table at the bottom of the tool. After we have accounted for any costs associated with our new instructional materials and assessments initiative and any cost savings that we may realize as a result of it, we will see our total costs and savings appear at the table at the top of the page on the right-hand side. We will return to this summary at the end of the tool when we compare the different costs and savings of the various components of our initiative. Now we will move on to the next tab, which is designed to project the costs of various forms of professional development that may be necessary to effectively implement Common Core state standards. The forms of professional development within this tab may apply to other non-Common Core related instructional priorities as well. The first thing that we must decide is whether to use a 5-year plan to project costs or a steady state plan. The 5-year plan option allows us to change assumptions year to year and is best if we want to tweak programs over the course of the investment, whereas the steady state option allows us to determine the cost of our program in its desired steady state scenario. We then can use percentages to phase in the program accordingly. For the purposes of this example, we will use a 5-year plan to project our costs. After we have decided on a type of model to use to project our costs, we will proceed the tool answering the various questions that appear. For example, the first question relates to instructional coaches. If we choose to use an instructional coaching model, we may develop unique scenarios for different groups of teachers. For example, we may develop a specific scenario for struggling teachers. We could change the number of teachers receiving coaches year to year in accordance with the 5-year model, and we can customize it in terms of number of teachers each instructional coach assists and the instructional coach salary and benefits. Again, we can change the assumptions for different types of teachers according to the instructional coaching model. Another option that we have for improving our professional development program is providing time for collaboration so that teachers can talk about best practices and plan their lessons. Often, districts have found that they can find time for collaboration for free within the existing schedule. However, if districts cannot find this time, we have provided several options for which they can pay either staff or hire new staff in order to free up time within the day for teachers to collaborate. A final option for improving professional development is choosing to pay teachers a per diem rate for additional professional development days. However, when we offer teachers additional professional development days, we may also have to pay for extra substitute teachers. When creating our model for professional development, it is important to consider the additional costs related to the implementation of the new model. The rest of the professional development tab addresses such additional associated costs. The implementation of a new professional development model may require us to hire new staff, or perhaps provide additional types of training, maybe to our new instructional coaches. Maybe we need to invest in additional technology, such as Chromebooks that our instructional coaches can use to offer the most valuable feedback to teachers. Some districts may find that overhauling their entire professional development program proves to be too big a task for them to handle alone. Therefore, they may decide to hire some form of external assistance. Finally, as with any new investment, we must think through how they will engage stakeholders, both internally and externally, and how we will communicate our new priority to the community. Now, we will move on to the Technology tab. Many of the Common Core state standards assessments, such as PARCC and SBAC, require certain levels of technology to support the administration of their tests. For more specific information regarding the technology requirements of these assessments, please refer to the Resources tab. Similar to the Professional Development tab, on the Technology tab, we must first choose the type of model that we will use to project our costs. For technology, we will develop a steady state plan. As we scroll down, the first major cost item that we encounter are devices and accessories. We may choose to lease laptops for 200 students within all 5 years. Alternatively, if we decide to buy laptops instead of lease them, we should only incur the cost within 1 year and then account for replacement costs within the following years. As we continue to progress through the Technology tab, the next question that we encounter asks about infrastructure. When districts make large technology upgrades, they also must upgrade their electrical infrastructure. In order to accurately account for these costs, it is best to consult an expert within your facilities department. Next, we encounter maintenance and technical support. We must be sure that our district has the necessary resources in order to provide support for our new investment in technology. You will see we have several different options in order to provide maintenance or technical support for our technology. Finally, we should consider if we need to make any additional investments in professional development or teacher training. We should account for these investments within the Professional Development tab. If we have not done so, we should return to the Professional Development tab in order to account for these costs. As always, we should remember to account for our existing spending. If you would like to learn more about tactics to find savings within your current spending on instructional technology, you may investigate opportunity number 6 in the Pay for Priorities section. Last but not least, we come to student supports. As districts throughout the nation begin to implement Common Core state standards, they will also have to provide additional support to struggling students. The Student Support tab allows you to provide two different types. One, academic support, and two, wraparound supports. We will begin our walkthrough with the academic supports. We are presented with 4 different manners to provide academic support. 1, extend learning time. 2, offer more pull-out instruction. 3, hire more teachers to teach additional courses. Or 4, hire an external assistance partner in order to augment your current academic supports. If our district decides to offer extended learning time to struggling students by paying teachers an additional stipend, we can customize the extended learning time model for various student populations, whether it be English language learners, elementary schoolers, or high schoolers. Now we will move on to providing wraparound supports to our struggling students. Often, districts are able to utilize existing government and nonprofit resources in order to implement wraparound supports at little or no cost. However, if districts do not have access to such services, they may choose to hire additional district staff or an external provider in order to increase their offering of wraparound supports to students. Potential new hires may include positions such as guidance counselors, social workers, or psychologists. The rest of the questions in this tab cover the same cost components that the questions in the previous tabs did. Therefore, we will not walk through them in great detail. Once we have inputted all of our relevant cost information for our priority, we come to the Summary tab. Once we have inputted all of our relevant cost information for our priorities, we come to the Summary tab. The Summary tab offers a year-by-year glance at the cost of all of our priorities. We may use the drop-down menu in column C to make a final decision on what priorities to implement. Additionally, you will see our total 5-year net costs summarized in the graph below. Once we have decided on our final priorities, we can return to our Smarter School Spending Progress Tracker and input the cost of our instructional priorities on the 3 Track Financials tab. We can use this same document to track our cost-saving opportunities later on in the process. You may notice that the Progress Tracker has additional rows for other priorities. In addition to the priority-specific cost projection tools listed on the website, we have also included a blank tool that you may customize to estimate the cost of any unique district priority. This tool has a similar structure to the Common Core cost projection tool, but allows us to customize our areas of investment. For example, we could use this tool to establish a 5-year plan for a reading program. We may decide to pay librarians an extra stipend to stay after school to provide personalized instruction. We can also hire new full-time personnel or new part-time personnel to support our new program. For cost projection tool, we can also use the blank template to cost out several different initiatives within the same file. Once we have inputted all of our cost information, we can then use the Summary tab to make a final decision on implementation. Using both the priority-specific and blank cost projection tools, we hope your district will be able to more accurately estimate the cost of your programs going forward. Accurate cost information can help to track the cost effectiveness of district programs as well. You will notice later on in the process that the Program Success Tracker, located within Step 12, relies on specific cost information to assess a program's success. You should use the cost information within this tool as a valuable resource when considering trade-off decisions going forward. Thank you for watching the cost projection tutorial video. We hope that you find the suite of tools useful in projecting the future costs of your investments.